Okay, so boom. You finally realize the power of emails and owning your own data. So you create a newsletter and get a landing page fired up. You send out your first email and bloop, it's in the promotions folder. Unless you're an e-commerce company, I'm sorry to tell you, but the promotion folder is not going to help you. This is why you should get ConvertKit. ConvertKit specializes in keeping your email in the primary folder so you can increase your open rates and communicate with your audience. They also have beautifully designed landing pages and squeeze pages for you to capture more emails. I personally love the fact that they have good support. Support from you is everything. If I have a problem, I need to know I can get someone on the line or have a video that answers all of my questions. Hustlers don't give up. They say, yo, let me figure this out. I figured it out with ConvertKit. Now let's start the show. Hello and welcome to Hustle Over Everything podcast. This is the podcast where you receive stories, tips, and strategies from entrepreneurs who've done it. Today on the podcast, we have Andrew Moses on the show. He's a co-founder and CEO of Tenantcube, a business focused on making the renting experience easier for tenants and landlords. And yo, his story is crazy. Yo, Owen, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Super Bowl Sunday, bro. It is, man. We got the GOAT
Sunday.
Tom. Super Bowl Sunday, man. It's a special day of the year where everybody historically congregates together to have it's if you're not a football fan, you just get around just to vibe out, have some wings, have some beer. But yo, look, it's Corona. There's definitely a lot of more lockdowns now, a lot of more, hey, you can't have get-togethers with people outside of your immediate family. So it's a different vibe, man. It's a different vibe, but we got Tom Brady, the GOAT, going for another Super Bowl ring. Bro, what I love about it, man? It's just you're witnessing greatness right in front of your eyes. This guy's over 40, and this is his 10th Super Bowl championship game. That's more Super Bowls than a lot of franchises have even ever been to. Take it in. He has more rings than some organizations. So I'm gonna go to my cousin's house. Fred. I'm gonna go watch the game. It's also he just got a new crib too, right? So it's gonna be an opportunity to see how he's living, how he's upgraded his lifestyle. But other than that, man, it's a very chill Sunday on my part. Ready to tackle on Monday and get this bag, bro. How about you?
Man, today is a focus day. I'm zoned in on creating content, creating the different podcasts, editing, and just making sure my week's gonna go right. So I'm excited, man.
Yo, look at you. You're saying, yo, I'm making content, I'm doing it, and I'm here. Yeah, Super Bowl Sunday, bro.
Actually, no. One thing about Super Bowl Sunday I got to get off though is that it's good to see the weekend about to perform, man. The weekend's from my part of town.
Your
from
ends,
Scarborough,
yeah.
So I'm
pay
excited
homage.
to see him win.
Who would have thought, man? A Scarborough man performing at the Super Bowl.
Exactly. Looking at the memorabilia and seeing XO was crafted in Scarborough, and now it's a Super Bowl. You see, who else is international like that performing at the Super Bowl? Maybe Shakira. Shakira's international.
Shakira's international.
Most
Celine
people are-
Dion.
Celine Dion. When was that? How long ago was that?
Man, I think it was decades ago, in her prime. Yeah,
It's been a while since an international artist has performed at Super Bowl.
And a Canadian
so
too.
To the weekend.
A Canadian and a Canadian as well.
Exactly. Yeah, it was just a Canadian performed.
I think it was Celine Dion, bro. I think that's what it is. Yeah,
exactly.
It also not just Canada, bro. We gotta pay homage to where the weekend is from. I believe it's Eritrea or Ethiopia, one of the two countries. So this is a big thing for them too, right? It's a big thing for audience. I'm not gonna say one. I'm just gonna say either of the two countries. But I coming from Kenya, if I see another Kenyan guy performing at the Super Bowl, it's a win for me too. So I'm sure it's a win for his community too.
I bet. They're definitely at home celebrating. I feel he's gonna put on. I feel like he's gonna have some type of subliminal message that's gonna be talking about, Black Lives Matter. That's gonna be talking about being from one of those two countries, and this is gonna try to subtly put on for them, as he
Yeah.
performs his the synth pop hits that he has. Do you
Hmm.
think he's gonna take it back to like the old weekend days of like the Queen Street weekend, or are we just gonna get straight synth pop the whole way through?
I think this is a family event, right? Like
Yeah,
the Super Bowl is a family event, so we can't get like dark. What's that album he dropped? Like his first ever CD.
House of Balloons.
House of Balloons, yeah, like we're not getting that type of energy like from the Super Bowl today. It is a family event, so we're gonna see a lot more pop. We're gonna see more like him tuning, like getting into like his MJ vibe. You know what I mean? Like being a performer, gracing the stage, having the theatrics, and really like gracing the mic in a way that is entertaining, right? And I think he knows how to do that well. And I think he learned that from Drake. Drake is very versatile. Drake can sing, he can rap, he can dance in his own way that's unique to Drake. He can host a show. So I think what Weeknd is trying to do is he's trying to mold himself into a full package entertainer. Like you can entertain like the grown ups, like the 40-year-olds, the moms and dads and the kids at the home. Then you can get to like the underground scene where it's like very dark, grungy vibes and create like chill music, you're gonna smoke to or drink to. And then you have like the market, like the chilling in the car, driving the highway, listening to some pop music, radio, top 100 charts. So that's how you become a superstar, right? And Drake showed the path of how to do that for like other Canadian guys and how to get there. So I gotta give it up to Drizzy for laying out the blueprint. And the Weeknd is just a testament to, 'cause who would have thought the Weeknd would have become this, right? But seeing what Drake did and his path to stardom, you can see definitely the Weeknd is on that path as well.
Not on that path. He's there.
He's
He's
there.
there.
Yeah, yeah.
He's
Thanks
there.
for correcting.
That's
He's
a
there.
fact.
Yeah, he's a superstar too.
Without a doubt, man. And what do you think? Hey, people who are also superstars, Joe Budden is officially a superstar, man.
Superstar podcaster, man.
Superstar podcaster, and now he's moved to Patreon. What's your thoughts on that, man?
I think this move, a lot of people think that it is a big move. We know the magnitude of how big this move is, but I don't think we're going to really experience how big of an impact this move will be like 10 years down the line, right? Because for years and years and years, we've seen a lot of creators, a lot of especially black creators as well, not get their just due. So Patreon is like that platform which allows people to control their own destiny, right? If you have an audience, you want to make money, this is the place to do it. And I think Joe is spearheading that movement because he's just not about the money. He's looking out for the culture. And it's been such a long time since we've had someone like, hey, I'm not about the money. I'm about you guys. And I'm going to sacrifice my own dollars to show you that this is what I'm about. We've seen a lot of people who get that platform and they say, you know what? I'm going to take the 30 mil and I'm just going to bounce. But Joe's like, you know what? Screw the Spotify deal. I know you're offering that, but this is more for us, for the creators, for the black creators and everything. And him being head of creator equity, right, is huge. And he has a board seat. He has shares in the company. So he just did not get a payday, but he's gonna get a payday in the future. And I think he's setting up the path for people like you and I in this early journey of podcasting and creating our own platform and showing how to do it and not just taking the quick bag that, hey, we're going to own your rights. We're going to own your content. Like, hey, here's how you can do it. And here's how I'm going to liberate all of you guys to get your just due because I'm on the head of one of the biggest platforms in the world that allow you to get the most content out of and get the most money out of that on your own terms. So big ups to Joe, man. Like, I'd love to hear your thoughts because, guys, I got to give this to Alex. I call Alex the Oracle. Alex is the Oracle. He calls this move. He predicted it 3 weeks ago. Joe Budden is going to go to Patreon. And boom, your prediction was right. How did you feel when that happened?
I mean, he's the type of guy to drop hints. So, there's a hint right there, there's a hint right there. Also, when he was talking about advertisers, I was like, all right, if you don't like having people interrupt your experience or your podcast experience, what options do you really have? And the only really option that you have is to have people pay for the podcast on the front end with like a Patreon. So that was like my immediate move. Then I heard, Ma said, "Oh yeah, we're gonna do it on Patreon. They're gonna do," and it hits happened there. But seeing him get a board seat was a different move I wasn't expecting, and I think that's gonna be a testament to the the gravity of the move, because I think this could be a $1 billion move, low key. No one's really
You think
taking
so,
it,
eh?
but yeah, I definitely think it's gonna be a $1 billion move in the long run. When Patreon goes public 10 years from now, I think this can be a $1 billion move, because Patreon's here to stay. Let's call a spade a spade. And creators are going to keep creating, especially in the times now. The access to people, gravitating with technology is going tenfold. You get me? So it's just going to expand further along. Also, what I noticed, man? The Shade Room didn't comment about anything about this deal. When Joe got kicked out of Spotify,
They were on that, they were like
they were
on white on
that
rice, bro.
ass.
Yeah.
Exactly. When they were talking about the dog issue of him kissing or fondling dogs, they were on that. When they were talking about some of his exes coming up, they were on that.
Bring him down, man. Any opportunity.
Exactly. But now that he's gotten a deal, silence.
Bro.
You know what I'm saying? I feel like he was Damon Lillard when he was giving him the bye.
Like the Dame Dollar. See ya, Russ. See ya, PG.
Exactly. So, I'm happy. I'm happy for him. I'm happy for the overall, landscape of podcasting now. Because with him going further on, that means we can go further on. When Ernie Leisure goes further on, that means we can go further on. We see the guy go further on, that means we can go further on. So we're just seeing like the groundwork being laid as we walk towards those steps. So I'm excited for it.
You're right.
That's what makes us want to go on Patreon. So listeners, if you don't already know, the time has come. We're about to hop on Patreon, man. We're gonna have the details links below, and you can check out our Patreon. You know what I'm saying?
I'm so excited for this move, bro. Like, this is it's our chance to, like, not a chance, but it furthers our opportunity to build the hustle over everything, brand the community, empower entrepreneurs with exclusive content, exclusive interviews, and be part of something, be part of a movement that is uplifting, that is encouraging, and propelling everybody forward who wants to create something of their own. And great work for you, man, arranging the Patreon, launching the Patreon. I'm excited for this, and let's take this to the moon, bro. To the moon, as it is.
To the moon.
To the moon.
You know what I'm saying? That's a fact. That's a fact. So y'all, I appreciate y'all for rocking with us so far, man. I appreciate the advertisers that have agreed for us to, be affiliates and all that fun stuff. But we definitely gotta, practice what we preach in terms of independence. So we'll have 3 tiers, a $3 tier, a $4 tier, and it's a few more other tiers. So subscribe to our Patreon, subscribe to this entrepreneurship platform. I really appreciate y'all. So tap in. A link will be in the show notes, in the description, a link in the bio, all that.
Everything.
All that. So moving on, man. This week is a legendary week for us, man. It's the last week before the podcast playlist.
Yes, guys. We spoke about the Rapper Go to the League playlist before, but let's speak about it again and update everybody like the week we just had.
Oh man, all right. So yo, last week, Monday, we banged out 8 interviews in a 24-hour period.
Yeah.
And we interviewed some of the greatest entrepreneurs that we could find and get a hold of. Some of them including Jabril Goro, the man behind the Budgetnista.
Yes.
Live Rich Academy. You get me? That's
a
8-figure business. Paul C. Brunson, who's worked with Oprah, and his story is incredible. Don't get me wrong, Jabril's story is incredible as well. But Paul's story, his wife, bro.
Oh my God! I mean, we don't want to spill the beans.
You can't give it away, but his wife. No, you need to take in Paul's story. That was incredible. I almost walked off the damn.
It's just like, man, like for the guys out here listening, like Paul's wife. When you saying this girl's got my back, Paul's wife had his back, like in a way that you will not even imagine. But tune in to find out how.
Lower back, high back, shoulders, spinal
Everything,
cord, every single vertebrae.
hamstring, everything, like back, like
That's leg. Is hamstring leg?
yeah,
Hamstring's leg,
hamstring is just, it's just under your butt, like
Oh, like back leg.
yeah.
All right, bro. But yeah, we also got Mario Armstrong, Emmy award-winning TV producer, marketer, businessman. Oh, man, you got Carl, one of the esports OGs in Canada.
Carl Edwin.
Shout out to Carl, man. Carl gave us some gems as well. He sold a whole business to I can't want to give it away.
Yeah, I think we gotta tease them a little bit just to showcase, hey, this is what you expect. But hey, man, a lot of like, and I remember just exiting the interviews like we had, and I remember just, especially after the Paul C. Brunson one, because that was our very last one, and I was just thinking, I was like, man, wow, we were talking about having Paul C. Brunson last summer, and we just got him on the show because we were very, and I think the theme of the show of how we got these great entrepreneurs on is we were very intentional, right? We were very intentional, like, and this is a testament to people who, you want to talk to people, you have to offer them value. And we were like, hey, we really admire your story, we really want to showcase what you do. And the power of a DM, bro, like the power of just being intentional, going through the messaging and just saying, hey, this is what we want to do, this is why we want to do it, come on and let's talk, right? And of course we have the platform and the background of everything that we have, so it gives more credence to what we do. But guys, if you want to like get in contact with some of the people you admire, be intentional with how you approach it, offer them specific value. And I even think Mario said something along the lines like, don't go in there just saying, hey, can I pick your brain? Because they get these messages all the time, right? So I think it's a testament to us. And I just found it crazy how, like, after we did the David Mullings episode, and then he's like, yo, you guys should like talk to Paul C. Brunson. And at the time, Paul C. Brunson was like, oh my God, like this guy, Oprah, like, are you serious? And tables turn, and now we're here. And he was such a genuine person, bro, like such a very humble guy. And I felt inspired after that interview, man. I just felt so good leaving that mic.
Facts. Yeah, I got to give a quick story, man, because, shout out to Viv, because the Chad audacity, definitely was implanted in me, and I was like, all right, how can I have some Chad audacity? And I was lying on my couch in my robe, chilling, drinking some tea, and I was like, man, who can I DM? And I see Davison Frere. Shout out to Davison, shout out to Frere NY. The designer for Kevin Hart, Jay-Z,
Diddy,
all the athletes, Diddy, all of them.
yeah.
And I'm like, all right, let me DM him. Send him the DM. He responds in like 10 minutes. And I'm like,
Your eyes couldn't believe it.
Hold on. So as I sit here in my robe with holes in it, I just sent the DM to Davidson Frere. And he just
This is like Rock Nation brunch. Davidson Freer, he's dressing people who go to that brunch with, like, they're just that. If you look at Rock Nation brunch and you see all those guys wearing suits, that's Davidson Freer right there for you.
Exactly. So, and I was like, damn, it's that simple. Mm-hmm. It's that simple. Damn. From that moment, I was like, all right, yo, I gotta stop playing with myself. I just gotta keep going. And that's when I started going hard and DMing everybody who wanted to be on the podcast. And man, it's been insane. It's been an insane experience just to see how accessible the world really is to you now. Mm-hmm. It's, if you're not taking advantage of it right now, you're sleeping. I remember hearing Gravy say it goes down in the DM, and I'm like, okay, sure. I did a few people and didn't get nothing, but I don't know now, especially with the current panorama. You gotta be tuning in. You gotta be you gotta be digging deep, DMs. Bro. You gotta be on the Clubhouse. I'm getting a whole iPad to be on Clubhouse. You gotta be on it. You gotta be on it,
man. You can't let the panini stop you from making moves, man. You know what I'm saying?
Man. Exactly. You cannot let the Panera bread stop you, fam. So just keep pushing, keep creating, sending those DMs to people that you want to get into contact with, build new relationships. We're 20 minutes in, 18 minutes in, to be specific. We haven't even got to the business tip of the week.
Yeah.
I appreciate y'all for being with us. If you're rocking with us right now,
We're just
shout out to
excited,
you.
man. Yeah.
Yo, it's a big week. It's a big week. So tune in next week. We're dropping the first episode of the series. I'm excited to drop it, man.
Rapper go to the league, man.
Man, you know what, man? 2
What's
Chainz's
up?
album is called Rapper Go to the League. It's on YouTube, it's on Google, it's everywhere. I DM'd 2 Chainz and got no answer. Sometimes you don't get no answers. So we post this, and what happens if 2 Chainz comes back and is like, yo, take that shit down, man. Take that down. That Rapper Go to the League is my album name. But it's not our album, we're just a podcast, so,
I see it like this, right? Like, Rapper Go to the League, the statement has been in existence even since 2 Chainz ever dropped an album, right? I don't think just because 2 Chainz drops an album, like Rapper Go to the League, like now we have to mold what we're doing for him. I think knowing 2 Chainz, not knowing him, but like from looking at his interviews and what he stands for, he's a guy who like grinded hard, went to school, 4.0 guy, basketball scholarship, didn't give up on his dreams, continued like making music and blew up like in his like late 30s, early 40s, right? I think he'll like, what, I get the sentiment of what you guys are doing. That's it, and I'm kind of hoping he catches us, because that's an opportunity to actually talk to him and be like, hey, let's like, look, bro,
come on the podcast.
Come on, guy.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Come on the podcast for sure. All right, yo, we 20 minutes in. Let's get into the business tip of the week.
Yes, man. Let's crush it.
All right. So, in business tip of the week, I want to talk about Google Ads. I'm shocked that as a paid marketer, I haven't mentioned Google Ads as yet. It's like right there. The alley oop is literally right there. Should we stick to Rapper Go to the League themes for the rest of the pod? I don't know, but yeah, the alley oop was literally right there, and I really want to talk about this because a lot of people sleep on YouTube ads, and the reason why is they think it's, one, expensive, and two, the audience isn't there. And let me tell you something right now. Your audience is definitely on YouTube right now. If your audience is anywhere, it's definitely on YouTube. And one thing people think on is that, how do I target my audience correctly? And I want to break down these 2 ways of looking at your customers. One, as potential customers that are on hunt mode. They have a pants on fire, hair on fire solution that they need to get. And they're looking for that. And they're searching through Google to get that answer. And then there's people who are casual new customers who, this is a new food spot. Okay, I'll try it, right? But to target those hunters, those people who have that pants on fire, hair on fire need to be solved, are going to be searching that on YouTube and on Google, the 2 biggest search engines, and they're owned by the exact same company. So a strategy to get these people in your door is by leveraging search by targeting people who are searching for specific key terms, right? Now, usually people think, that's just on Google, and I'm going to be paying for having high search rankings. But what people sleep on a lot is having that same search ranking apply to a YouTube pre-roll ad. This is the gem here, because you can retarget someone. Let's give an example. I'm looking for hustle over everything. I type into Google, hustle over everything. Me, as the marketer now, can go into Google Ads and say, hey, whoever has searched for hustle over everything, give them a video ad on YouTube pre-roll. That's a big gem. And not many people are competing on that term. Just because of the specificity of it and the targeting of that. And if they are, it's worth a lot more to you because you know that they're in hunt mode. So you should be able to pay higher for that because you know that this is people who are looking to buy. You get me?
Yep.
So I just wanted to give that as a business tip of the week. Think about Google Ads and YouTube pre-roll ads as a strategy to get new clients. Another thing I want to mention is that these people, when they look at your ad, they're going to hit the skip naturally.
It's within us, bro. Just a click.
Just a click. But think about this. You don't get charged if they hit skip. you don't get charged if they hit skip. That gives you a good amount of seconds to give your message out to those customers before they hit skip. And you get the chance to, one, to get your message out and not pay anything. You only pay if they watch the whole message out. That's brilliant. Brilliant, honestly.
Unreal.
So I just want to leave that with you guys. Think about using Google Ads as a marketing tool. I'm talking about Google Ads pre-roll on YouTube. And that's the business tip of the week, man.
Word, man. You got to be creative with those YouTube ads, man. If you have like that moment of just like capturing them through like that first 3 seconds, there's some episode, like some YouTube ads that like helped me. I was like, whoa, that's a good ad. And I watched the entire thing. I was just like, big ups to their marketing team. They know what they're doing, like by capturing someone's attention and going from there, man. But guys, man, you know what time it is. It's Mr. Hustle Muscle here, ready to give you that Hustle Nation tip of the week. And guys, I got something for you guys today, man. You know, as entrepreneurs, you know, we get caught up in the action of doing things. Our lives revolve around taking action because that's what gets us from point A to point B. Our lives get so consumed with busy work that is masqueraded in productivity. It reaches a point where you become null to new thinking because you're doing the same thing over and over. I remember when I was in university building Sneaker Deck, I had a very tight schedule in the way I did things. I would go to class, then I would go work my shift at Good Life Fitness, come back, study, work on Sneaker Deck. It was routine for me. There was no room for sitting back and thinking. I found myself becoming null and lacking inspiration when I did this. I was a cog in my own wheel. I was always caught up in the startup culture of moving fast and always executing to get feedback from our users. It would feel as if I was in a race with some imaginary timeline of being rich and making it before a certain age number, because being a young startup founder was the it thing. You know, it still is, but as I matured and got more perspective, I removed this thinking. The Hustle Nation tip of the week is: inaction is an action in itself. When you're constantly moving and doing the same things over and over, you remove the opportunity for new inspiration and thoughts. You follow the same pattern because your brain is wired to find the quickest shortcut. That's why it forms habits for you. I remember when I tried to think of new ideas and I couldn't think of anything because I wasn't exposing myself to new things or relaxing my mind to attract these thoughts. So taking no action is an action in it. And you're taking itself. When you take no action, you're leaving yourself room to be renewed in mind and spirit. You find yourself having hunches from within that spark new paths and new ideas that shift things forward from you. When you're taking no action, your mind becomes still and you see yourself for who you really are. You get a chance to stop and see how far you've come and where you need to go, or perhaps change a course of action. As we're locked inside, we're falling in traps of doing the same things over and over. And it's not by our decision, it's just the nature of how things are. Find ways to detach yourself from what you constantly do. Step away from your computer and phone to think. It's okay to feel as if you're not doing anything, because that is actually doing something that will get you ahead. When you remove that feeling of want and need to always do, you begin to assume the feeling of your desire fulfilled, and your mind elevates to a relaxed state. You receive this feeling of knowing that even though you're not doing anything, that by doing nothing, that this quote unquote nothingness plays a role in you getting closer to your goals as you rejuvenate yourself towards your attainment. That is the Hustle Nation tip of the week. Remember, taking no action is an action in itself, because it's in these moments of being detached that provides you with clarity and inspiration, guys. So let's get it. Big Monday coming up. Let's see who's going to win the Super Bowl. And that's the Hustle Nation tip of the week.
Amazing. You're 100% right, bro. Doing nothing is still action.
It's still an action, bro.
That's a fact.
Yes.
With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into our housekeeping items and into our podcast with Andrew Moses.
Let's go.
Hey, what's up, guys? To support the show for free, Here are some main options. If you're on Apple, make sure you rate and write a review of our podcast. This makes a huge difference and helps support the show. If you're on Spotify, follow us. If you're on Google Play, hit subscribe and auto download so you'll be notified and have a fresh pod ready to go when we drop. Lastly, make sure you share the podcast on Instagram or whichever social platform you use and tag us. On Twitter, we're at 24/7 Hustlers. On Instagram, we're at 24/7 Hustler. And on Facebook, we're Hustle Over Everything. And now, guys, you gotta pay attention to this point. We just dropped a new newsletter. It's called The Underrated. It's a weekly newsletter that breaks down untold stories that highlight game-changing business strategies that shape our sports, music, and culture. It drops once a week on Mondays, early in the morning, to prep you for the week. So subscribe to that, and we'll see you in the pod.
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Alex and Owen. It's nice. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, indeed. So, man, you gave us the biggest icebreaker I've ever heard. All right, we got to start like off the top with your experience with your first home. With your first rental property. What happened there?
Oh, geez. Where do I start, right? Well, first rental property. We had this house, my first ever home in Canada. You have these emotion attached to this home. You're buying a new one, you're moving to a new one, so you're all excited about the new one. And you think, you know what? Oh, people say real estate investing is awesome. So you keep your old house and you think, oh, I'm going to find an amazing family to maintain the house the way I kept it for the last few years. So there goes. I started advertising it. Obviously, just whatever I knew, I just advertised. I didn't know much about application processes, what documents you can ask. So I just said, oh, well, we'll meet. We'll just had random people come into our house, which is obviously, I mean, it's good to have people come in, but then you don't know who you're letting in because it's your family home. That's one area that I was a little, is it really good? But then it all went good. Like we had a lot of good interest. And then this couple walked in, young couple, had a infant baby in their hand.
Mm-hmm.
So with my background, when you see a small young family, you think, oh, beauty. They're small, they're growing. That's a beautiful family that I'm gonna let.
Starting out, yeah.
Exactly. So it's almost like, yeah, they have a family, they're building it. And then I also associated with that person, the guy, when he mentioned that he's also a entrepreneur like me, and the banks won't give him loan, all blah, 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 mortgage to buy a house, and that's why he's renting. So it kind of story that, it looks, okay, that's a young family. He's an entrepreneur as well, so makes sense. I rented it out thinking, oh, beauty, okay, got a nice family to take over, right? And then 3 months rolls out, 4 months rolls out, my neighbors start messaging me every day because I've lived in that house for 5 years. I
Mm-hmm.
know everybody around that house, so everybody has my my phone number. They keep texting, man, you guys, you put me in us in a big mess. We're scared for our kids. Like there's cops coming in every day to your house. We're so scared to live in this house anymore. And we're like, what? What's going on? And then I'm like, okay, I show up at the house. I'm like, oh, I didn't want to go for an inspection. I want to know what's going on. And that's when I really started to learn what property management is, right? You
Mm-hmm.
walk up to the house and I think, oh, it's our house. I'm just going to let them know that I want to like, have a quick inspection. And then they just say, oh, you didn't give me a notice. Get out of my house. You're trespassing. I'm like, I'm not even inside the house. Like, oh, nope, you don't have the rights to enter our house. Give me a notice and then come in. And then one day, like 2 days pass, I suddenly get a call that the cops kicked in the door and they kind of arresting the guy and they're taking him away and there's a whole scene happening. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh geez, okay, this is really serious now. Right, so I
So what's
go
he?
in there. Sorry.
So what was he doing? Was he selling drugs or something?
Yeah. So the long story start was that he was actually a drug dealer who was actually arrested for armed robbery. A couple of his buddies went and John, I mean, this was before when marijuana was not illegal. They went
Mm-hmm.
and robbed a marijuana growing plant or something like a pharmacy plant where he was caught and then his buddies and him were arrested. So now I'm met with the situation. I have this lease with a person that I can never meet again because he's in jail. He's probably gone
Mm-hmm.
forever or for a long time. And there's his girlfriend or wife or whoever that is wouldn't even let me enter the home. I'm like, okay, that's a great start for property investment, right? So that
Mm-hmm.
it actually showed me a lot. I mean, it's one thing that um, it's an experience that you don't want anybody else to go through. But for me, I took it as a learning experience, right? As an entrepreneur, like you always say, right? You either fail or you learn. So I knew that
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you either succeed or you learn. So I said, okay, I'll take this as a learning. So it was a long process to kind of find a way to get them out of that place and then get my home back with all the missed payments and lost money and damages to the property.
Yeah.
It was a story to start my property management career in Canada, which again I'm one way I'm sad that I actually didn't have the right knowledge to do it right the first time.
Mm-hmm.
On the flip side, it taught me so much that I don't think I would have learned that much in property management if I didn't go through that experience. All right. So it's a good and a bad experience, which again, I'll never forget.
Oh man, that's that's crazy. I mean, my parents own like property as well too. They've had like some notorious tenants taking over one of their houses. I remember one story that it's crazy. Like there's this one chick who moved in. So instead of telling like my dad that, the plumbing is done, it's not working, she kept like defecating in the same toilet and like covering it up and covering it up and covering it up. So by the time she's moving out, my dad is bringing like the cleaners inside. My mom's tagging along, and they go to the bathroom, and then like they're like looking, okay, everything's everything's all good. They open the toilet seat and they just see like a big pile of like what, right? It was because they're coming in, they're like, raw, like, what's that smell? Like it's we don't see anything, right? And then as they keep walking, they keep going through the bathroom and then they finally see it. But some like tenants sometimes it's a hit or miss. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's such a you don't know what you're gonna get, right? Because someone can give you like the upfront face value of like, hey, I have a great job, I have a great, and the thing about you, the way they got you is they had the baby with them,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So they touched your soft spot, and you're like, oh, you know what? Like, this is a guy starting out, like entrepreneur, baby, young family. They knew how to get to you, right? Like I think
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
you went through your emotions and you made that decision with like more of your heart than more of like the looking like the behind the
Exactly.
closed doors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the it's the human behind every landlord as well, right? I mean, landlords and property managers are also human. I mean, they have a heart behind all of what they're doing, right? So it kind of that's where it's you need to really know, and that's one thing I always say to all my friends and whoever wants to get into property management is just owning one home is not a passive income. Like a lot of people say, oh, home is a passive income. Throw money on real estate, sit down and collect the money, right? Collect the rewards. It's not. It's almost like running a business. And the most important skill you need to be really good at is finding the right tenant. If you
Mm-hmm.
don't do that, everything around that falls apart, right? Your home's
Mm-hmm.
in danger, your income, your mortgages are online, and everything around that doesn't make sense at all. So, one area that as a landlord or a property manager you should be really good at is don't decide from your heart. Use your mind, do some research, try to get as much as information as you want so that you pick the right person. So that's something that I've learned, and that's what whenever I get a chance, I try to convey it to my friends as well. That don't think of it as a passive income.
Mm-hmm.
It could get much more busier than your day job. Like with that 6 months that I went through, I was spending pretty much like 8 hours, 9 hours trying to go to the station, get the report in, and how do I get in there? And then, oh, geez, okay, they disappeared now. I can't open the door, and they changed the lock on you. It was such an experience. And then the other part of all this is the security, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have your family that I didn't even tell my wife what's going on. So suddenly, like, oh, what's
Mhm.
going on? "Oh, nothing. Just, I'm out. I'm just going to
Oh,
deal with, just going to
oh,
deal
don't
with.
do that.
Yeah.
Oh
See,
no.
till today, hopefully she doesn't listen to this podcast. She doesn't know the whole story. She knows probably 20% of what happened, right? Because
Wow.
they were so scared. Like they were like, if I told them, oh yeah, I'm just going to go meet this drug dealer and an armed robber, I'm going to try to kick them out. They're going to freak the hell out, right? So I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, mm-mm, I'll deal with it. I'll go through it. I had my sleepless nights, but at least the family is safe. And the funny thing is, that guy has, or the entire group has my cell number. They have my address. Well, like if guys go rob somebody for $2,000, they could easily come after your family, right? So it's like that's the
Exactly.
security piece that just puts you at like total emotion is that, you know what? I don't care if he doesn't pay. I just want to get everything out so that
Hmm.
I don't put my family in danger moving forward. And that's the biggest
Hmm.
lesson I learned was it's okay to keep a house empty without
Hmm.
tenants for, I would even do 6 months right now without a tenant until I find the right tenant.
Hmm.
Because just giving it to somebody just for the sake of renting is the first
Hmm.
mistake everybody does. And if you can
Yeah.
urge, like,
Yeah.
make sure that you don't do that, I think you'll be a better landlord.
So this is what led you to do what you do now, right? This
Yes,
was. Would you say this is the catalyst that made you launch the platform that you're building right now?
absolutely. I mean, at that point, right? I mean, as a entrepreneur, you know that you could do one thing. You could either say, you know what, okay, real estate is not for me. I don't want to invest anymore. I'm going to sell that property, get out of this.
Hmm.
Or you just try to find that. I mean, it's a huge problem. Like you could clearly tell, like I talked to 10 other landlords. 10 of them had horror stories. You talk to 100 landlords. All 100 have a horror tenant story. Then you just keep talking to these people, and it's like, it's not just me. I'm not the only idiot who made this mistake. Everybody goes through this, and it's a massive problem out there, right? So then I thought, okay, either you just say, well, I don't want to do nothing to do with this, or you say there is an opportunity and you have experience that can. So you're looking at the problem, right? We're not, I didn't get into it to say, oh, I'm going to build a school app and I'm going to start selling it. I just thought, okay, there is a problem. Is
Hmm.
there a real big problem across the market, across North America? And then you do a lot more research and you find, you know what? It's a massive problem, whether you're a landlord who owns 5 properties or you have 5,000 properties. You go through the same problems that somebody like me goes through. So I said, you know what? It's worth fixing. I mean, fixing a problem like that, and that's how I kind of got into research and
Hmm.
started doing what I'm doing today, where all that we're doing is just work with landlords and just kind of help them find the right tenant. And when you find the right tenant, we want to help them keep them longer. And that's all we're trying to do right now, right? With our platform. Just simple fix that first problem of finding the right tenant. When you
Hmm.
find a good one, don't let them go, right? Just make sure
Hmm.
that they can stay with you as long as possible so that, again, every time somebody leaves, you open a can of worms. You never know what's gonna come and land in
Yeah.
your property next, right? So you want to take that as a
It's very
situation. Yeah,
unpredictable.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the platform and like building the platform. So where'd you start? Like, what was the first few people that were a part of your team actually building this thing?
Yeah, it's once you have a problem and you know it's a big enough problem, obviously you want a team to come join you that believes in that problem as well, right?
Hmm.
So that's the next step I took. Like I knew there was a problem. I knew I if I could spend some money to build a platform that can save my time, can give me some peace, I would go do it. That's the path I started. And then as I talked to more people, it got bigger and bigger and bigger. I'm like, geez, it's across. And then I started doing some research on finding these friends of mine who have already built technology companies in the past, right? So that's where I started, where I started looking at, you know what is the other, like, I know I'm good in go to market, I'm good in sales. I've done that for multiple SaaS companies in the past. So I know what skill I had. And I said, okay, what other skills do I need? Right. So I just started looking at friends who could help me. and had a lot of discussion with so many different people. And then finally landed on one of my friends, a long-term friend. He was a developer at a healthcare company in Toronto, and he was a lead developer there. And I needed that tech partner to help me build something, right? So I pitched that idea to him, and he said, "You know what? I believe in it. I'm ready to quit my day job." Like, well, that's one thing we
Wow.
wanted. That's one thing I wanted to do because I've had my fair share of failures as well, trying to build a side hustle with a lot of different part-time employees across the world. It was like I was just kind of spinning my wheel over and over again. So I said, this
Mhm.
time, I want people, if they believe in the idea and if they're willing to take that first step to say, you know what, yep, I'll quit my job. I'll take a salary cut. Let's do it. So I did that, and luckily he joined me. I mean, I don't think without him we could have been here. So that's a great thing. First co-founder, and then
Mhm.
we found some tech talent that's worked with me in the past. Um,
Mhm.
in Freshworks, that's one of the unicorn company that's kind of pre-IPO right now, and Zoho is another bootstrapped unicorn. So I know the talent was there. I had the connections to build a team, so that's where I started with the founder, who kind of a skill set that I would need or the company needs at that point. And then we started kind of finding developers, designers, and stuff, and then put this team together. And
Mhm.
as I told you earlier, I didn't build this just to build an app and make money or just kind of become a billionaire or anything, right? I wanted to solve that problem. So everybody who came and believed in the problem are shareholders in our company. They all have early founding team has good share options in our company as well. So we wanted to build a company with people who believe in the problem and who wanted to invest their long-term vision with us and say, you know what, yep, I'm all in. Let's go build this thing out and solve this problem.
Hold on, real quick. Sorry, Oda, I gotta get this one. All right. Is this common to give shares to new employees of a company, or is that because the way you said it sounded like it was actually like a step above that you took? So is that commonplace or not so much?
Um, it is common to have share options in a company, right? So share options is like you have an employee share option. But what we did was we wanted to make sure we valued their talent and skills, right? So we didn't just give them a share. We made sure that they had enough so that when we build it and this problem becomes big enough and this company is growing, they grow with us, right? So that was the motive behind that, is that not to hire employees, we wanted to hire partners who can actually believe in the vision. And it's part, I mean, our culture in our company is that everyone owns the problem, right?
Mhm.
So it's not my problem anymore. I'm not the only one driving towards the problem. I have 15 others now who know exactly what problem we are solving, and we are all marching towards solving that problem. So now it makes my job easier because they believe in the vision, they understand the problem, they have a fair amount of skin in the game, so that whatever we are building, it is it is something that they're passionate about as well, right? So
So from your own words, like what is Tenant Cube? If you could describe it to our audience, like what is it? What does it do? How could they benefit from it? And yeah, give us the breakdown of it.
all right, okay, I can talk forever, so stop me if you
Of
want to cut me
course, of
off. Like,
course.
stop me, okay?
We
So
will.
tenant cube
Thanks
is
for giving
a
us that permission, by the way. We appreciate
yeah,
that.
because when
Yes.
you get passionate, right, when you talk about something you're building, so just let me
Yeah.
know if I'm going over time. But yeah, I'll just make it simple as possible. At Tenant Cube, we're building a platform to help landlords and property managers find the right tenants. So when I say find, list properties, screen tenants, onboard them using a digital experience,
Mhm.
and provide services to keep them longer. So make sure that the experience continues when they are a tenant. So it's almost
Mhm.
everything we do is related to helping a landlord bridge the gap of the need from a tenant, right? Real estate, there's two different generations right now. The owners are a different generation, the
Mhm.
tenants are a different generation. So the
Mhm.
owners really don't know, the property managers still don't understand the requirements of convenience economy that the tenants
Mhm.
are used to. So all that we're building is, let's build that gap and help landlords step up their game so that they can match the required needs of the tenants of today or the future. We're not even building it for today. We're building it for 10 years down the road. We see technology evolving, and real estate is 30 years behind, or the property management is, or the real rental space is 30 years behind. We're just trying to bridge that gap to help landlords find the right ones, provide an amazing service so that they can keep the tenants longer.
Got you. So I'm guessing that includes like, you know, sending in forms, the data checks, and all that
Absolutely.
type of business to I
Yeah.
guess make the job easier on their end. That's amazing, man. That's amazing.
Yeah, and
So
and it's also digital. Sorry, just one point. Like apart from checks as well, when you said check, it just kind of rang a bell because things technology like a year ago when we talked to a landlord, he would say, "I will never do online payments.
Hmm.
I will only do checks. I'll collect cash and if I can." And then COVID hit. I know those landlords today are scrambling to find a way to get money online. They're like, "Oh, can you offer me credit card payment? Can you offer me direct deposits? Can you do this?" Right? So things like this changes their perspective as well. So definitely the adoption of technology and digitalization of things. So simple thing is, how can we help a landlord stay in one platform without having to
Hmm.
dive into 10 different things, try to manage everything together? This will be a single platform to manage the entire experience.
Got you.
And why is with tenant history, with technology existing
Mhm.
for, let's say like the '06, '07, where we saw all these apps and platforms emerge. So for like the past like 14 years, why hasn't anyone really tried to really revolutionize this space? Because it's so ripe for technology to be backing it. It kind of feels like things are just still being done old school. What have you seen like with other incumbents trying to do this problem, and what have they done right and what have they done wrong, and what's the overall state of the market with rental tech or real estate tech, if you would call it?
Yeah, I think I'll start off on. I mean, we're not. I'm not as experienced in the market, or I'm not. We're not. We don't have. We're not big enough to comment on other big competition out there. I mean, there are a lot
Sure.
of competition which are obviously doing everything for everybody, right? So they try to do everything. It's like, oh, we're this massive thing. We're trying like 200 different solutions, problems. We do everything together, but then one a lot of companies are focused on that. Like when you talked about application side, the history and everything, I think it all depends on the privacy around that as well, right? Because in
Hmm.
Canada, there's a lot of privacy laws that kind of restrict you from doing some things without pushing the limit on the privacy side, right? So I think that's one area that it's been a concern for a lot of these companies trying to build that the history and try to find these bridge these gap. So that's I think that's one area. Privacy has been one kind of roadblock. A lot of people didn't actually do what a technology could do today, and obviously we want to be cautious of that as well when we build things, right? And that's one area you don't want to get into because I mean, obviously, it's important to make sure that the privacy is protected. So that's one area. But the other thing that I saw in this market is that there are either massive companies that's trying to solve every problem, or there are individual point products that's just building something like, let's say, for an example, I would say, I'm just building a credit report platform. Landlords can come sign up and buy credit report on our platform. Like, yeah, that's good, but how do you onboard them now? Oh, we don't care about that. Get the credit report here. We make our money and then go find a way to do everything else.
Hmm.
Right? So just the one full problem. So you look at it from a problem perspective that it was, I mean, getting a credit is a piece of the puzzle, but it's not the entire puzzle. Right? So you
Hmm.
need to understand that just a credit score doesn't really make sense when you're renting to a person. Like one thing I've learned so far is you might have the best credit report ever, best score ever, but if you don't know that person or you can't talk to that landlord or whatever it is, there's no it's not the full story. There some
Hmm.
people are fixing problems in small pieces of a story, but they're not building the entire journey. So that's where I think the opportunity for technology is to kind of say, you know what, we will help you embrace that entire technology to solve a problem in a way that you don't feel disjointed. Like a tenant, and at the end of the day, tenant is all about customer, right? Tenant is a customer to your landlord. So think of it as a customer experience thing. Like, how can I help landlords to provide a great experience from the time you're looking for a property from a listing to, yep, I like it, I'm going to apply to this. I want to view it. And then once you apply to it, oh, great, you look good, your profile looks good. Now we are onboarding. Come pay the first and last month's rent, sign the lease. So you want to provide that entire experience in such a way that the tenant feels that, you know what, that was awesome. It is great, right? And that's the kind of impression you want. And that's one thing that's kind of missing right now, was that they don't understand. Everyone's building solutions for just the landlord. Like, how can I help landlord make money? How can I help the landlord do this better? Nobody's really thought about the end product. The end customer is your tenant. Like, that's the core of any business. Like, property management evolves around tenants. So nobody's really concentrating on making the experience better for a tenant. And I think that's the opportunity that we see in this market, where if you can help the right tenants or the good tenants build a good history, provide them all the digital services that they need,
Yeah.
it's going to be huge down the road, right? Which is, again, you got the good tenants, you got good landlords, so we just want to kind of bridge them,
Merge it.
right? So there's always stories on both sides. We
Yeah,
won't get there, but yeah, we'll just leave it at that. Yeah.
for sure. So now let's get into Tenant Cube and your business model. How do you get paid? What's the revenue? How do you get guys make revenue?
Yeah. So for us, it's a subscription model. So we decided early on that we don't want to nickel and dime landlords with a lot of solutions out there sell that they are free. They start off with the freemium, and then every time you click inside, oh, that's 29 bucks. This is 49 bucks. This is 79 bucks. That's nine. So our platform is going to be as a flat fee. Just say a flat fee of, let's say, $49 is what we have decided. So $49 a month. You get up to 25 units included with that pricing, and then any additional pricing as you scale. So it's almost like a pay as you grow model. You're a small landlord, come in at the base price of 50, learn the product, get better at it. And once you start scaling your business, you pay per property, per unit as you grow. So it's simple as that. You're not paying for something that you will never use. You only pay as you grow, right? So that's the model that we are monetizing. And the tenant will never have to pay in this platform, right? So that's, at the end of the day, you cannot ask your customers to pay. And that's what we want to, and I mean, let our landlords understand as well, is that you take a $50 fee to provide that experience. It pays you dividend in the long run, rather than just saying, you know what, I don't want to pay this. Can I have my tenant pay $5 here, $10 there? Versus you take on the ownership of providing that experience, it pays you dividends in the long run. And that's the kind of our model.
Yeah, I feel like if you were to try and put the money in the tenant, they'd try and find a workaround. You know, this naturally, because everyone's always trying to find like easy ways to maneuver the system. You know, so I think that's a
Exactly.
strong business model. Um, that's very interesting, man. So, how do you go about marketing? Is it a know a paid strategy? Because one thing on the paid platforms that are most predominant, Facebook, Instagram, Google, is that real estate is really tough to advertise on because of the new laws that have been put in place. So how do you find yourself acquiring new audience?
Yeah, I mean, it's really a challenge, like you said, right, with all the new policies in place. But one thing we have heard, right? I mean, so far, all the customers we have received are just a simple. You help somebody like a landlord who just knows us through, let's say, a network right now, and then they just talk to us and they use it. Boom, we get two other people, landlords, come to us saying, "Oh, Matt just mentioned that you have this platform that I can use," right? So right now, even as small as we are starting to see that word of mouth pick, because all these landlords and property managers are in certain groups, right? So whether it's a Facebook group or LinkedIn group or their own, just a coffee group, right? With COVID, they're probably not doing coffee groups anymore. Maybe their Zoom group, whatever you want to call it, WhatsApp group. So it's easy for us to just, once we get a customer understand the value, it's super easy for them to refer someone else. And we have also built an engine where tenants can refer us new landlords as well. Right? So
Mm-hmm.
once we serve a tenant with our platform and they love what they see, they can get us new tenant landlords by just saying, you know what, oh wow, this is awesome, because we provide a reusable application for tenants. So the
Mm-hmm.
tenants, we're solving problems on both sides, right? So landlords, we talked about finding the right tenant, but for a good tenant, filling these PDF forms over and over again is a pain, right? You're busy doing your work and you have to fill these PDF forms that a lot of customers provide you, like landlords give you, versus our system has a reusable renter's profile that you can
Mm-hmm.
send as an application to any new landlord that you meet. So that gives us another incentive to add new landlords in our platform. So that's another model. So obviously we'll go digital. We're trying to do digital on Facebook and try to focus on certain groups. Associations are a big thing, I believe, in this market, real estate associations and these network groups that we would tap into.
So essentially, you're banking on the great experience for the tenants to really do the marketing for you towards the landlord. So if I'm leaving my apartment, I can go to the next landlord and be like, "Hey, my all my stuff's on Tenantcube. You should be registering for it and look at my things over there." Essentially, that's kind of the
Yeah,
vibe I'm getting.
no, you don't have to invite them. You could just send them your renter's application via email.
Okay.
So
Hmm.
it's super easy to say. It's almost like a resume. Like how do you send a like you build a resume once and you can
It's like a
fire it off to
LinkedIn type of
different
thing.
people. Exactly. So
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
think of us as a LinkedIn for tenants. You have your profile with your experience, your rental history, and everything.
Hmm.
You're moving to a new location. Bam, copy, send it to a landlord. They look at it and say, "Geez, okay, that's awesome." They also have their history and everything tracked in one place.
Hmm.
So at that point, a credit score doesn't really matter. Like if a landlord can see that you are been in a platform, you have a great rental history built on a
Hmm.
platform, which we allow our tenants voluntarily to build it. Once they have a good renter's history, nobody really cares about the credit score anymore, right? I just want to
Hmm.
know if Owen's paid rent or is he a good tenant? He's been on a platform that's he's built his history. That is more important than a number that somebody gives you, right? So that's
Yeah.
what I think that's the future where tenants come to our platform, they like it, they use it, and obviously we provide them the value to use that platform, right? And
Hmm.
even from their standpoint, they have every information in one place. So if they move to a new place, they could take that history with them. So they could easily request a history report from us, which then they could send it to a landlord. And let's think of it from a landlord's perspective. You get somebody with, oh, I don't even know this person, with somebody with a good history. So it's a no brainer for tenants as well, right? So it just kind of
Absolutely.
it's a snowball effect.
Yeah.
Got you. I'm curious to get your opinion on the current state of the real estate market. Landlords who own condos are struggling right now. Everyone is moving out of the city and going to the suburbs. There are a lot of
Yeah,
vacant units, especially those small units.
right.
Um, what are landlords doing to stay afloat with their properties that you've seen, and what advice would you have for someone trying to get into property right now?
Right. It's a great question. And like I said, right, COVID has changed a lot of things. One of things is this, right? The vacancy rates are all-time high. So see, it is all about the economy, right? Convenience has now become the best kind of it's a good thing and a bad thing for a landlord. Tenants are now used to the convenience economy of the Airbnbs and Ubers of the world. They need better experience. So providing a better experience that trying to sell this before COVID was like, oh, in order to set you apart, you need to provide this experience. To today, it's if you really want that's mere table stakes today, right? You need to provide good experience if you want to keep that vacancies low because it's so easy to find a property today. It's super easy, and there's a lot of different things changing. Like you said, the suburbs, kids moving, the population moving to suburbs is obviously work from home, remote jobs, and everything that's changing. Now, the suburbs landlords who were used to collecting checks and never had anything digital are scrambling to meet the needs of these technology tenants who are moving to their region. So they're kind of left behind because you know what, they don't have an online listing site, they don't have a online application.
Mhm.
So by the time a tenant who moved from Toronto, for an example, I'll just take my region, right? I'm in Niagara. Like if you're a landlord in Niagara without a website, you hope that somebody fills out a PDF form, you make sure that they're going to mail me my check. You could wait forever, your house is going to be empty, right? Because there's other options. They could go see everything online, digital virtual tours, just bam, I like it, apply.
Oh,
Great.
I hate
Got a feedback. Pay my
I
rent
hate the
online.
virtual tours. I
They
love the
don't give you the
virtual
full
tours.
thing, man. Yeah.
Right. See, the virtual tours are a good thing, but one thing I know in the market is I don't think anyone would just look at a virtual and then just make up their mind that they're going to live there. They would definitely want to come see a property. I mean, my take on that is that if I want to live in a place, unless I'm an international student or I'm traveling from a different country, maybe my first house I'll do it virtual, just go through a tour and say, oh, that looks okay, just let's do it. But
Yeah.
typically, what we are seeing in the market is that we have landlords who do virtual tours, but they always say um, tenants would want to see the property. And the other aspect of this is that even though most of it is digital and online, landlords or property managers would still need that 1 minute or 2 minute FaceTime with their tenants before they decide on renting the property, right? So it's still it is a change. It won't change overnight. I mean, COVID can accelerate it, but it will
Mhm.
change as things move forward. The years roll over. It's not going to be a switch that flip and say, oh, the landlord's never going to meet the tenant and everything's going to go digital, right? It's a slow process. But one thing I'm seeing is the trends are changing. Like the economy, convenience is one thing. We talked about co-living as another opportunity as well, right?
Hmm.
Like working professionals don't need a three-bedroom home right now. In that space, three of them can split the rent and live at a much affordable cost and still have that lifestyle.
Mhm.
So how do you equip yourself to make sure that your home is accessible to that kind of population? Right? If you're just sticking to no, I'm going to rent it to a family. The families are not renting as much as you think they would right now, right? So you have
Mhm.
that demand in the market is for maybe a co-living space where I got a three-bedroom, great. Three of us will apply together. We want to just split the rent. We all live. If you don't like it, we move, right? So that's kind of the economy today, and I think that's where the opportunity for landlords outside the cities are, right? Vacancy rates are
Yeah.
definitely going to hurt, and
Eh,
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
And
Oh.
how many properties, like I want to hop into talking about like real estate property investing,
Mhm.
because this is a solid this is something a lot of our generation is doing right now. I think with what we're seeing, what's happening in the stock market, crypto, everyone's becoming asset obsessed, right? Everyone wants to own a piece of something, and real estate is something that has a lot of this. It's cloudy, right? And
Mhm.
you have a lot of experience with it. To start things off, like how many properties do you own outside of like your like rental properties do you have?
I have a portfolio of five rentals. It's not a lot, and we
Hmm.
are definitely growing it. I mean, my goal was to grow that side of the business, and I actually wanted to be out of tech. With my previous success with Freshworks, I said I'm going to be out. I'm going to build my property portfolio. And when I hit this problem, I said, let me go solve this problem first, build a technology that I will use to
Hmm.
grow my portfolio. Right. So I'm at a five unit rental currently, which doesn't look like a lot, but I know the
That's a
kind of
lot.
work.
Five?
I know the kind of work
Yeah, you're
it
saying five
takes.
as if like five is nothing. I mean, five would be a dream for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It could be, right? I mean, yeah, it is definitely. I mean, I'm not saying that it's not a small thing, but I'm just saying five. When you look at it, it just feels like five properties, but the work it goes into it is kind of
Hmm.
it's a lot, and I think it's once you learn and get good at it, and I think it becomes second nature to you, right? And you as an entrepreneur, like somebody like you guys, I'm sure you'll understand. You don't want to just buy a property and have somebody, and that's my take is I manage all our properties
Hmm.
because I have friends who can help me do it. You could easily find somebody who can manage it for you, but you're not learning anything, right? I wanted to learn the business inside out, so I'm managing it. But there is also another side where you buy a property, become a passive investor, let a property management company run it for you. Again, it's again, if you're willing to spend that 8 to 10% of your rent to have somebody manage it for you, and that's how you could build your history, right? So there's two options for you. One is you do the work, you take 100% of the returns, or you find somebody who could do it. So it also goes both ways, right? So you could invest it in a passive role, or you can be a active investor and kind of make your own rules. I mean, it's not. I mean, I'm saying make your rules in the business side of things, but
Mhm.
from a landlord tenant rights and stuff, there's lots of policies and legal stuff that you need to adhere to, right? So that you just as long as you're within that limit, you should be okay.
What advice do you have for new owners now getting into the stock market, the real estate market, and really trying to find themselves a proper property?
Um, One thing I would clearly say is find a property that in the market range, like do some research before you get into property management. Like sometimes people will just say, you know what, I like that property, so I'm going to buy it. But you're not going to live there, right? Someone
Mhm.
else is going to live there. So look at the demographics of what the need in that area is, right? So if people are paying typically 1,500 for a two-bedroom home, and you go buy this massive home and say, I want to invest in this house, and I'm going to charge $3,000 for this home, for a two-bedroom home, you won't find tenants who will pay you $3,000 there, right? So when you do that, think of the customer as the end, or the tenant as the end game, and see, you know what kind of tenants do I need? And for them, what kind of homes do I want to buy? And invest in the right property. And one thing I'll do is the first I told you already, it is completely okay to have a empty home than to have a bad tenant. If you can understand that when you get into this business, I think you will do well. Like you learn it because the cost of getting a bad tenant out and finding a replacement is
Is
way more than having a couple of months of empty homes. So don't rush into it. If you buy a home, sit on it, do some research, figure out what kind of markets out there, what kind of rent you could rent it at. Take your time to pick the right tenant. Do your due diligence. Spend that extra time because owning houses great, but if you let it sit on wrong hands, then you will lose your peace of mind. So just take your
Yeah,
time. Don't rush
it's
into
crazy
it.
even saying that. Like, I mean, because a lot of these owners right now, especially with COVID, people who bought properties into new buildings, right? So, for example, the building I live in, it's a brand new building. You're seeing just people's like what they're asking every 2 months. The price just keeps going down and
Exactly.
down and down,
Yeah.
and it also looks very desperate. It reeks
Yeah.
desperation, right? So I hear you from your point of saying, hey, it's better just to be patient and wait it out. But at the same time, they're like losing money out of their pocket,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's like we don't know when this thing is gonna end. So I think that advice is like so great. But I'm just trying to put myself in the mind of an investor right now who has a
Hmm.
property, who needs that, he needs to get his cash flow back, or needs to start that cash flow. It's like it's a sticky point right now for a lot of
Right.
these property owners.
Yeah. So one thing I've heard, or I mean, before the pandemic, you talk to a lot of people, right? I think that's one thing you need to do is find a mentor who's been in this business for 20 years, 25 years. You learn from them. Like one
Mhm.
advice I got that I kind of liked a lot or use it is prepare for 6 months of no rent or 1 year of no rent. Would you still be able to survive and keep that home just in case if something happens?
Wow.
So they said, if you're investing in something, are you able to sustain a home without rent for a year? It's the worst case possible, is what they said, right? So be prepared for it. You never know. You might be in a situation. So once you're clear, so what I'm saying is that helps you manage the kind of houses you want to buy, right? If you can afford a $500,000 home, maybe go for a $350,000 home as your first home, have some
Mhm.
extra buffer. Don't go all out and put some extra 50 grand of your personal loan in and try to push it really high and try to get a high end home. Maybe your first step should be, you know what, let me try a little lower, have some extra buffer that can save me during these dry days. So
Mm-hmm.
be prepared, plan it ahead, right? It's almost like business, like I said, right? You need a cash flow for, let's say, a 2 year, can you manage the property, or a 1 year cash flow, so that if the rent is not happening, can you sustain it? So think of it like that, and you don't want to jump into something and then not be able to sustain it. And then if you sell it, geez, you're going to lose a lot more, right? Putting all
Right.
that money, like probably the bank's going to make all that money from your investment. You pay that money and then they give you a cancellation fee and it's like, oh, you need to pay us this much interest, pre-closure, this fee, that, this. And you will never get into property management ever. So real estate ever. So take your time, do your research, take it slow, and then just invest when the time is right. And one thing is like these are temporary in every market, stock or real estate, it's cyclic, right? So
Mm-hmm.
one thing I've heard from my landlords before that I was pitching is, why would I want tenants to stay longer? If they leave, I can raise my rent. Like, talk to those landlords today. If they have 200 properties and 20 of them are sitting empty, they're like, oh, geez, I need tenants now. I've had tenants, landlords tell me, oh, I don't need a system to keep my tenants longer, because if they leave, I find someone else at a higher price,
Mm-hmm.
not in this market, right?
Not
If they
anymore.
leave,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's zero. So, well, right? I mean, you got to be prepared for your market, and that's why it's good for a landlord to be really focused on the tenant and build that relationship, so
Mm-hmm.
that once you have a long-term relationship with your customer, they're not going to leave your home and move to another home just because you're saving $200 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Because even from a tenant perspective, you never know what you get into, right? We're only talking about tenant side, but there's also landlord side, right? There are uh, bad ones on both sides of the coin. So you never know. As a tenant, you take a chance and you move from a landlord who's been super committed, communicating, fixing issues, and you say, "Oh, I'm going to save $100. I'm going to move to this next door home because the guy's offering me better price." Good luck, right? You never know what you get into. So both sides. It's all about relationship, is what I think. It's think long term, prepare, be
Yeah.
really, really cognizant of what limit you can push, pick the right tenant, wait for it and pick the right tenant. It's That's the only big advice I can give, is that finding the right
Patience.
tenant is the most important skill you will need to learn and become really good at it. Because if you can't good at picking right tenants, it's going to be a really tough time, right? It's almost like a
Yeah.
manager or an entrepreneur. Like, if you're not good at picking the right people to work for you, it's going to be really hard for you to scale that business. Same thing
Yeah.
applies in real estate.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it seems like I think what you're trying to do is like you're really working to mitigate that decision making to find the right tenant, but at the end of the day, it's always going to be what the tenant wants, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
You can have like two great profiles of a score 760, 760, employment history or whatever, but it's a hit or miss too at the same time, right?
Correct.
I think what you're trying to do is like you're just trying to like provide the most accurate as possible information to make like a very well informed decision on that, right? There's
Absolutely.
also like other things in the market that we got to talk about too. There's when renters when tenants are looking for spaces, there's other
Hmm.
stuff like biases that come into play too.
Correct.
Um, uh, Racial biases,
Hmm.
disabilities, gender, preferences, and etc. Does your platform like mitigate this? For example, as a tenant coming through, I might wonder, but I know I'm at a disadvantage because of perhaps like my ethnic background, my race.
Hmm.
Do you have this in your platform? Because this is such a big thing in the market that we need to talk about too. And for example, real estate, it's prime for that. We hear it in the news every
Right.
day of landlords not getting even a look, and they even did a CBC a special where they show like one white guy and one Indian guy, and the Indian guy got offered like the worst spot in the building, and then the other white guy, he just got straight taken to the loft, you know.
Right.
So yeah, what are your thoughts on this? You know,
Yeah.
what's your take?
See, with a platform, like you said, we can provide all that information to help a landlord make a decision, but we can't really make the decision for him, right? It's obviously the change that people need to have in their mindset about, you know what, it is. You don't think of somebody with who they are. It's just their history of, is he a good tenant or is she a good tenant? That's the only thing you need to think of. And I think it's a bigger problem than what we could solve with our platform. One thing we try to do is to be very transparent and open about not have specific kind of prejudice. You cannot build a prejudice on a rental application. Like we try to keep it as simple as possible so that when you look at the data from a landlord perspective, it's going to look like it's just like simple thing about the profile, right? They're a good tenant. She's paid her rent on time. She's been on our platform for 3 years. Versus if there is another application, maybe a different racial group, but if they don't have that history, it's just simple that they're going to go with somebody that's good history, right? That's what we're trying to break is don't look at gender or don't look at different ethnicity. It's all about who they are as a person. Like, are they a good tenant? That's what we're trying to provide that data to the landlord. So at the end of the day, that's how decision making should be. But I think it's sad the kind of situation we see all around us, right?
It's very
But I
sad.
mean,
Yeah.
that's definitely a much bigger problem than what we are trying to solve. And I hope we kind of help some way negate that using our platform by providing data around, you know what, ethnicity or gender doesn't matter. It's all about, are they been good? Have they been a good tenant? Did they have a good history? That's all should matter, right? Same thing with credit report is one thing we provide credit report on our platform, but that's just not a deciding factor of a person, right? Like simple as that. It's just a number. Something might have happened. COVID might have happened. Their scores are not that great today, but the family is awesome. They've been on, they're great tenants to have. So we want to help landlords make that decision apart from just throwing a number or a face to an application to look at it from a holistic standpoint to see, you know what, they are a great tenant at the end of the day. That's how we believe landlords should decide. It's not about, oh, where do they come from? What do they do, right? Versus if I give them the home, if I rent them the property, will I get paid? That's the biggest question every landlord has, right? Will they take care of my property? If they have a good history of doing that, why would you not rent it? I mean, you should be crazy not to rent it to somebody who has a good history, versus, you know what, you just say, oh, I don't want. I'm gonna just rent it to my kind of people, right? It's a narrow mindset, and they will learn, right? I mean, as that's something definitely at a much higher level than what we can solve. But I think if you're narrow-minded and if you're just stuck within that kind of box, that's all you get, right? I
For
mean,
sure.
you can't change a lot of people. We can help them make better decisions, but we can't make the decision for them. But we will try our best to make sure that it's not we don't kind of help, or we don't be a catalyst for landlords to or property managers to be more what do you call biased. It'll be, our system is going to be an open platform where we want to help both sides, landlords and tenants. We're not only focusing on the landlord. So our goal is to build a platform that both parties can stay, use it. Once you're good landlord, you get to stay in the platform. You make sure you serve your tenants. You're a good tenant. You want to be cognizant of pay the rent on time. You're going to be taking care of the property. Then you kind of stay in our property and build it, right? So at the end of it's just changing the way future is, right? Future should be that you don't even have to write an application in the future. That's what we think on a long, like, our heady, what do they call that? Heady, audacious goal is that we just change the entire way renting happens. Like, we
Change
should be
that
able to
behavior.
just, yeah, just change that entire behavior, right? Why do you have to go through an application, this and that? If there is a way you could be proved as a valuable tenant, it should be just be, you
It's
like the
based off
home,
that.
take it. pay my
Exactly.
rent from next month, right?
Yep.
So we want to just totally change the way the market works in a few years, and hopefully we'll step by step, like one step at a time, we'll
Yeah.
get there to change the entire industry.
I think you will. Switching gears here, I want to get into some of the nitty gritties of acquiring property. When you
Mhm.
got your first property, how did you get the first time home buyer 5%? What tips and tactics can we learn from your experience of buying your first properties? Do you use, like I said, the 5% or what? Yeah, what I should just let you talk on it.
Okay, so hopefully I don't give any information that CRA or somebody won't like, but yeah, here's how you do it, right? So first home, you buy a home, 5%, obviously first time home buyer, you got all these amazing mortgage systems you buy. And like I said, you don't want to push above your weight, right? So you buy something that you think without finances, you might be able to sustain it for a few months. So you buy something within your range, build something that you need right now, just get the first home. And what you do is, as the homes grow, especially in this market, there is an asset component that grows on your home, right? So the more you sit on a home, your asset is building in that house.
Mhm.
And if you want to get into property management, the down payment will be the next big thing, right? So second home is not as easy as your first home because there's so many different programs for mortgages that gives you a 5% down with a easy mortgage on it. So what you do is you use your home as an opportunity to get that capital. So for example, that's what I did in my case. I mean, there might be much better, smarter ways out there, but my way was invest in the home, build equity. Once the equity was at a limit, and then you say refinance your home, you get the equity, invested into a new home as a down payment, and you got two mortgages. You got a tenant who's paying for your first home mortgage, and then you got yourself paying for it, and then just kind of repeat that cycle if you can, right? If you don't
Mhm.
have that cash, I mean, there might be a lot of people with a lot of cash who could just go buy 10 houses at a time, but if you want to slowly grow it, again, patience, right? It's all about start here, build your equity, use your home as an equity to step into another rental, and just build it from there, right? Just you don't want to you want to learn it too, right? Like I said, if I would have went and bought 20 properties, if I had the capital, I mean, if I wish I had it, but if I bought 20 units at the first time, it would have been a big nightmare for me. I learned
Yeah.
from one tenant first. I did that for a year and a half, and then slowly now I know, okay, great. If I do this right, there's very less chances I'll run into problem. So then you repeat that into another home and then you learn it, right? So it's all about learning the trade. But for the first home buying, I would say buy your first home. If you have a home, use that equity. It's probably one of the cheapest loan you could get on a home because the interest rates are ridiculously low. So you can use your home to get that capital at the much efficient interest rate and invest it into another home, right? I mean, if that's
Gotcha.
your game, you do it, right? If you have stocks, if you have Bitcoin and you've invested $10,000 in Bitcoin 2 years ago, well, you don't probably need a mortgage, right? You could just go buy, you could just go
Yeah.
buy a home, pay out the cash. But I would say rental homes, it's always good to have a mortgage on it
Mhm.
because expense, income, expense, everything works out in your taxes. So be more efficient on having rental homes under mortgage and everything.
Are you investing in Bitcoin
Yeah.
at all?
Sorry?
Have you invested in Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency?
No, I was too late for the party. So I was busy building my startup and building into property management. I really, I mean, to be honest, like maybe I didn't really believe in the idea before. I still find it a little off. Like I have no idea how that happens, but if I don't want to invest in something that I really don't know what's happening.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it could be lucrative, but if I really don't know the nitty-gritty of something that I can kind of
Stay away
control,
from it. Yeah.
I just stay away from it. Like it's like lottery, right? I don't buy
Yeah.
lottery because what are the odds? So just stay away from stuff that you can build.
Speaking of investments, what are your thoughts on the whole GME and what's been happening with the stock market? Like, just your own personal thoughts.
Yeah, I don't think I'm a big expert to comment on that. Like, I'm not really into stocks too much as well. Like, I invest in some tech stocks and stuff to just kind of learn how things work, just to understand. I'm not an expert at that level. I'm just the basic knowledge. But I think I know that it is crazy what's happening right now. But again, you might be smart enough to invest at the right time, right? Timing is super, super important in stocks. The simple reason I'm learning all that was, again, it's a lesson. I know one of my previous companies is going to go public soon. So all that I'm doing is I'm learning for the last 4 years, investing in similar companies to see how their stocks fluctuate and what would be a good time to sell, buy, so that I prepare myself for the future. So just training myself. I'm just a student at this. I mean, I'm not an expert at all to comment on stocks. I don't think I've made a lot of money in stocks, so it kind of disqualifies me. So definitely, you might have other people who are much more experienced than me on the stock market. So I'll just say, I mean, if you're smart enough and you know the right timing, why not, right? And again, if you're willing to take that risk,
For
some
sure.
things are high risk, high reward, right? I mean, you might end up getting zero out of it. You might get 200x, 10,000x return on it. So
For sure, man.
definitely, I'm not an expert, so I'll just stay away from it.
Sounds good.
Sounds
Awesome,
good.
man.
Respects.
Working to wrapping up. Is there anything we didn't cover that you'd like to speak about?
Um, I don't believe so. I think you guys did a good job of probing some questions and got some secrets out of me from investments. So hopefully I don't, hopefully not too many competition in the market right now, like bidding against houses that I want to buy. But again, I think you guys have been great. You guys kind of touched upon the technology side, which is again a passion, and it's not more about the technology that we're building. It's more about the problem we're solving, right? So we are super pumped about the problem, and just one thing we know, like I know you guys have heard Jeff Bezos say it over and over again. One thing, just focus on things that will never change. Landlords will always want good tenants. I don't think ever landlords would say, you know what, I don't, well, for this house, I don't want a good tenant. I want a bad tenant. I want to learn it. Nobody will ever say that. So as
Yeah.
long as we're solving the right problem of finding the right tenant, that's kind of what one area that we talked about. That's actually really good as well. I think we talked about customer experience. We talked about entrepreneurship, real estate, investment. You guys even pulled me into stock market, which I'm not an expert. I didn't want to look bad giving bad advices, right? So I just kind of, I think apart from that, pretty much we covered most of it. And
Awesome.
again, if you guys think you need any other spots that we didn't really touch, happy to do it. And I think now we guys are buddies now, so you guys can obviously have offline chat wherever we can, and then we'll
We'll
if
just
we
keep
need to.
connected.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Without a doubt, man. Where can people find you?
LinkedIn's kind of, I'm always on LinkedIn all the time. So look for Andrews Moses. I'm on LinkedIn or tenantcube.com. So that's our website. Andrews. My name is Andrews actually with an S, which is, again, I don't know
Yeah.
why they named me Andrews, but
I
that's my
found that
name.
unique too.
Yeah. So people always think that it's my last name, but no, that's my first name, Andrews. At tenantcube.com is my email. So anyone, a landlord or anyone watching out there, if you guys need to know what I'm doing at Tenant Cube, feel free to reach out. Want some advice, which I'm not an expert, like I said. Happy to share any information I know and see if I can help entrepreneurs and real estate investors out there.
Sounds good. With that being said, the house is what you can't control, so control your grind and control your life. I'm Alex.
And I'm Owen.
Andrews.
And that's
There you
hustling
go.
everything.
That's the hustle. There you go,
Yeah.
boys.
Thank you so much for listening. The conversation continues on our Instagram at 24/7hustler. We post very frequently. And be sure to check out our merch at hustleovereverything.co. We have some amazing sweaters, hats, mugs, and a lot more. Lastly, our Proud to Pay program is linked in the description below. Thank you so much for your support. Talk to you next Monday. Peace.